very much for coming along this morning. Your organisation has actually booked 6 sessions for you, and we're going to roll those out over the next 4 months. And we have no idea what it is that we're going to cover at this point in time, but it's useful, I've found in the past, to actually just go over the kind of way that it works and a few ground rules for you. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, okay. By and large, what we tend to do is we have these 6 sessions, and they usually last about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And if there's a problem with, you need to cancel one of them or whatever else, if you can let me know as soon as possible, that would be really useful, because we can then get that rescheduled in. Secondly about that is that it's up to you to determine when you actually want to take these sessions. So you might do them once a month, you might do them once every 6 weeks, or you might do one a week for a couple of sessions. That's entirely up to you, so you can work that out and then we can get it in the diary. Moving on from that, we have these little cards that we've got here, and this particular one covers what we call contracting, which sounds very formal, but it's really just the ground rules on which we work, both me as a coach and you as my client. So, covering the first one, really the timings, we've already looked at that. My style when I'm coaching is generally to ask quite a few questions. It's also to make a few statements, and I tend to use silence quite a bit as well. That's not to put you under pressure, it just gives you a bit of time to think, or it will allow me to take some notes. Now, while we're on the subject of taking notes, it's just a blank sheet of paper. What I'll tend to do is to write a few notes down, just more or less to aid my memory rather than anything else. But when we've finished, what I'll do is I'll hand the sheet of paper to you, or sheets of paper, whatever it is, and that way you know where they're going to go. Because what I wouldn't like them to do is to actually sort of fall into anybody else's hands or anything like that. That kind of brings me on to the next point, which was how we actually deal with confidentiality. Now, as both of us know, and I'd already mentioned, the HR department is actually paying for this coaching, and your manager's aware that you're being coached. But what I'm not going to do is report anything back to the HR department or the manager, or basically reveal anything to anybody else outside of our session. If anything comes up in our conversation that either morally or ethically is maybe unsound, or any legal implications, what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you on those, just so as we're dealing with this in an ethical way. Are you comfortable with that side of things?
Sure.
Right. I'm not expecting anything, I have to say, but you never know what's going to come out with these kind of things. One of the other areas that we look at is a thing called FO, which is a small acronym for Focus, Openness and Energy. Okay. So both of us, in terms of this, not just for yourself as the client or me for the coach, it's the partnership aspect of it. Both of us need to be focused on the issue in hand, not thinking about any phone calls or emails and those kind of things. Which reminds me, is your phone switched off? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. So that's what the focus stands for. The openness is about being receptive to anything that comes up. So looking at the possibilities, looking at the potential, as opposed to blocking everything that comes up, is really what we're talking about there. And lastly is the energy side of things, really, which is about whether mentally and physically we're alert to it and up for it and everything else. So we want your energy to be high, or my energy to be high. If you had a long day or whatever, maybe putting a coaching session at the tail end of it is not the best move, And that's the kind of ground rules that we have. We do, as I said before, with these 3 card type things, there are some models that I tend to use, and if I am using any models, then I'll explain those to you as we go through with them. Okay? Anything else that you need at this point?
No, that sounds very fun.
Okay, well, let's press on with it.